On a warm August afternoon in 1920, more than 20,000 fans gathered at the Polo Grounds in New York City. The crowd buzzed with casual excitement, the kind reserved for an ordinary baseball game. The Cleveland Indians were visiting the New York Yankees. It was just another game in a long season. No one in the stadium believed they were about to witness a moment that would change baseball forever. The sun sat low in the sky, casting long shadows across the field. Pitchers were struggling to see the catcher's signs. Batters squinted into the fading light. The baseball itself was already dark, scuffed, and worn from innings of play. Then a pitch was thrown that no one truly saw. There was no crack of the bat, no cheer from the crowd, just a dull, sickening sound, something closer to bone than wood. Ray Chapman collapsed instantly, motionless in the batter's box. Players froze. Fans fell silent. Within seconds, everyone in the stadium understood something was terribly wrong. By the next morning, Ray Chapman was dead. He became the only player in the history of Major League Baseball to die from an on-field injury. And with his death, baseball was forced to confront a truth it had ignored for decades. Ray Chapman was not a superstar. He didn't hit towering home runs. He didn't dominate headlines. But he was exactly the kind of player baseball was built on in the early 20th century: intelligent, disciplined, and dependable. Born in 1891, Chapman grew up during a time when baseball was becoming America's favorite escape from industrial life. He worked his way into the majors and became the everyday shortstop for the Cleveland Indians. He was known as a smart base runner, a strong defender, and a player who did the small things right. More importantly, Chapman was respected. Teammates trusted him. Opponents admired his professionalism. Umpires considered him fair and calm. He was not reckless. He was not aggressive at the plate. He simply played the game the way it was taught. Off the field, Chapman had just entered a new phase of life. He was recently married. He had become a father. He was planning for life after baseball, something many players never lived long enough to consider. No one believed his story would end on a baseball field. Although the dead ball era was technically ending in 1920, the danger remained. Baseballs were still reused until they were dark and misshapen. Pitchers were still encouraged to throw inside. Batting helmets did not exist. Protective gear was minimal. Safety discussions were routinely postponed. Ray Chapman batted with a stance common in that era close to the plate, leaning slightly forward. In an age of poor visibility, hitters crowded the plate to track pitches better. It helped them see the ball sooner, but it also placed them directly in harm's way. Pitchers threw aggressively inside to intimidate hitters. Being hit by a pitch was considered part of the job. Serious injuries were common, but rarely discussed publicly. Baseball accepted pain as the price of tradition. No one believed the price would be death. The game itself was unremarkable. Mid-afternoon, routine innings. Then Ray Chapman stepped into the batter's box in the fifth inning. On the mound stood Carl Mays, a hard-throwing pitcher known for his submarine delivery and sharp movement. Mays released the ball from a low angle, making it even harder to track. The baseball blended into the shadows. Chapman never moved. The pitch struck him directly in the left temple. He collapsed instantly. Teammates rushed to his side. Fans leaned forward in shock. Many initially thought the ball had struck the bat. But there was no swing, no reaction, just stillness. Chapman was carried off the field unconscious. He was rushed to St. Lawrence Hospital. Doctors attempted emergency surgery to relieve pressure on his brain, but medical science in 1920 had limits. Ray Chapman never regained consciousness. 12 hours later, he was pronounced dead. News of Chapman's death spread rapidly across the country. Newspapers ran front-page headlines. Radio commentators struggled to find words. Players across the league questioned whether the game they loved was worth the risk. For the first time, baseball could not dismiss danger as theoretical. The risk had become real. A man had died playing the national pastime. Chapman's funeral was attended by players, fans, and officials. His wife was left widowed. His young child would grow up without a father. The emotional weight was impossible to ignore. And for the first time, baseball faced public pressure to change. Ray Chapman's death forced immediate action. Major League Baseball ordered that multiple balls be used during games. Any ball that became scuffed or discolored was to be removed immediately. The dark, nearly invisible baseballs of the dead ball era were banned. Spitballs and doctored pitches were outlawed, with only a few pitchers temporarily grandfathered in. Umpires were instructed to enforce visibility and fairness. Almost overnight, offense increased. Batters could finally see the ball. Home runs became more common. Fans returned in greater numbers. While batting helmets would take decades to become mandatory, the conversation around player safety had finally begun. Baseball could no longer ignore the cost of tradition. Ray Chapman did not die in vain. Every clean baseball used today exists because of what happened to him. Every helmet worn by modern players traces its origin back to that August afternoon. His death forced baseball to evolve not just strategically, but morally. The dead ball era did not end with excitement or celebration. It ended with silence, with grief, with a funeral. Ray Chapman remains the only player to lose his life during a major league game, and that fact stands as a permanent reminder of how dangerous the sport once was and how necessary change truly is. Baseball survived because it learned the hardest lesson possible. Tradition, unchecked, can kill. Progress, delayed, has consequences. Ray Chapman's story is not just baseball history. It is a warning, and it is the reason the game you see today exists at all. This was the moment baseball could not undo. This was the death that changed the game forever.